what I did is I took this idea of how easy it is to create a listing to sell your car on like Auto Trader. You go through a few steps. It asks you, what make, what model, and starts filling in information, then a description, then you post your own photos, you set the price, boom, it's online, and you wait for people to get a hold of you. Well, obviously a lot more complex with homes. And so I said, okay, how do we take something that's far more complex and make it easy? Well, what other software has done that? And I thought TurboTax, right? You can file very complicated tax returns just answering bite-sized questions, and the answers change the following questions. And so we took those two concepts and married them. Literally, you can create a listing in 5 minutes.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, I am very excited because we got a repeat guest. We got someone who is a good friend of mine. He is an investor in our fund, but more importantly, he is doing big things in the real estate space and a native of Southern California. I got my man for the second time, Brad Rice. Brad, welcome back to the show.
Here we go. Thank you, man. Good to be here.
Yeah, dude. Excited to meet your son, Devin, who's sitting over here across from us as we speak right now. You guys are in town for a couple days. Staying at one of my first ever Airbnb, right, which is right here across the freeway in Bankers Hill.
Yeah, I got to tell you, the place is great. We just stopped by there, but just looking around, as soon as we walked in, it was so warm and just decorated nicely.
I furnished that thing with IKEA furniture myself, $14,000 on a credit card.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Hey, by the way, the cleaning ladies, they were super nice too.
Oh, dude. I don't know if Laura was there, but she's like our head cleaning lady down here in San Diego. She cleans our office. She does my place too, but she does all the stuff. And she even helps out the hotel when we need like staffing. And shout out to Laura Oros. We like invite her out to all of our holiday parties. She's great, dude. She's great.
Yeah, she was sweet.
But that said, dude, freaking that little Airbnb, I still had my day job as an air traffic controller. And that was one of the early properties that kind of helped me get out of the air traffic job and like really like understand, this shit actually does work. It does produce cash flow. It does produce tax benefits. Was that little property that you guys are staying in.
It's perfect. Look, we got there and there was a plane that flew over, which was actually really cool. It was low and it was, interesting. And we heard it, of course. But when we were inside, we didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
The windows there actually do a pretty good job of like concealing the noise. But the Airbnb listing, I believe it's still called the Aeroscape condo. And so we kind of like play into it. But, surprisingly, when I got that thing up and running, I didn't know. I was like, dude, it might come back with a lot of bad reviews, but we're just like very like upfront about the noise. Like, hey, if you're sensitive noise, this is not going to be a good place for you or a good fit. And then we just kind of play into the airplane thing. And honestly, the reviews are great, dude. There's like over 400 reviews, very, very high average. And people like, you read the reviews, people are like, oh yeah, like I just sat out on the balcony with my kids and we just watched the airplanes for hours.
They're right there, so It makes sense. No, It was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we had a little dinner planned tonight here at my favorite restaurant here in downtown San Diego, Little Italy, born and raised. So if any listeners out there like steak, this place, they freaking slaying the steak. So excited for you to experience it. The team's going to be there tonight, so pumped for it, man.
Right on.
Yeah.
Me too.
So, dude, what the hell you been up to, man? I had you on a while ago. Early on the podcast days. But that said, man, I know you've been ripping. What the hell you been up to, Brad?
Yeah, lots going on. I think it's been close to a year, hasn't it?
It's been more than a year.
Has it been more than? Yeah. Oh, man. Time flies. Lots going on. I still got the mortgage company. I've got the tech startup, which I don't even know if I'd call it a startup anymore, but I've got Homepie, the platform that has makes it easy for anybody to buy or sell their own home without the agents and the large commissions. That's got some really interesting tailwinds to it. And then just more recently hooked up with you to start really building my socials and brand and that sort of thing. And, I've seen what you've done over the last 18 months, 24 months, and it's been extraordinary. And so when you said, hey, I'm going to start teaching others what I did, show you the blueprint, I said, I'm in. And so really cool group we're involved in, and eclectic group doing all sorts of different things. So excited to, we're a couple of weeks into that now. So excited to see what that's going to turn out to be. And that's going to be the catalyst to me doing a few other things. So online.
Yeah, dude, we're excited to have you in the community. The 7-figure creator, freaking all people moving the needle in their prospective spaces. Most people are not in real estate, but like people in the fitness space, we got doctors, we got people in all their different niches that are just crushing it, moving the needle, and then growing their personal brands. And dude, that's been fun, bro. I get freaking so fired up on those freaking community calls, and like I've been working out with a lot of the folks in the group, dude. Garen and Yesenia were just in here this morning in the office. We were ripping, and dude, it's so fun. So I'm excited for that group, man. For any listeners out there interested in learning more, you can go to the7figurecreator.com to book a free call, and it's the number 7, the7figurecreator.com. But that said, dude, so Brad, I know you got a big. I really want to jump in and talk about Homepie, but before we do that, I know you have a big background in the lending space. I'm curious, how has the interest rate environment really affected you guys? Because I know some people that are growing their businesses right now on the lending side, and I know a lot of people that are washing out. But I see this as an opportunity where a lot of books are changing hands. How has it affected you guys?
Oh, no, that's spot on, Rich. I mean, look, it's been difficult for, God, greater than 2 years, 2.5 years now, maybe a little bit longer than that. Nobody was prepared for rates going up as far as they did.
Yeah, more than doubled.
Yeah, and then staying there, sustaining that that elevated amount for such a long period of time. That combined with just the lack of inventory that's out there, there's just not a lot of transactions. So yeah, it makes it really difficult. I think we were in a good position when we went into this thing. We were not very big, and we had the wherewithal to really lean into it. And so we've really invested in growing the company, while others have, like you said, shrunk and just struggled. And a lot have shut down, a lot have merged, a lot have, just kind of given up on the process. We've expanded our footprint. I think when we came out of just the boom of 21, we were in, I think, 3 states. We're coming into about 33 now, and just been recruiting across the country, bringing in some really great people, including smaller companies that had been struggling, and looked at, well, gosh, I'm an originating owner, meaning I'm the one that's doing production along with others. And my production is basically just supporting the business. And I've got all this overhead. I've got licensing. I've got bonding. I've got payroll. I've got all these things that I have to do that are distracting. Is this really the right thing to do? Or could I let somebody else handle the back office and I just work on sales? And would that be better for me? And that's something that we've done a lot of. We brought in some really great people that have run some smaller companies and bolted onto us, and now we're just killing it. So yeah, that's been our thing. We've been just kind of leaning into it. We're going to continue to do that, continue to grow. We've got some really great conversations going on right now with some top producers as well as some small companies to come in.
So what kind of lending do you guys typically like offer? Is this residential conforming stuff, or are you doing non-QM, commercial?
Yeah, we do a little bit of everything. I would say that we certainly do A paper. We do Fannie, Freddie, Jenny.
What's Jenny?
Jenny Mays are your FHA VAs.
Okay.
So we do FHA VA, very big on VA. We do one-time closes, even VA one-time close.
What's a one-time close?
So where you're doing the construction, so you're doing the acquisition,
Okay.
the construction and takeout. It's one-time close.
One time.
Right?
Okay, interesting.
And that's a big deal. With VA, there's no loan limits. And there's a lot of nuances to that. We actually have a VA kind of division to the company with a guy who is a veteran who came to us and had been closing 90 to 100 loans a year, all VA. And he runs that whole division for us. So we've got a really deep bench of experience there for our reps to tap into.
I've never heard of this product before. So you called it a VA what? Where
It's a one-time close.
One-time
OTC.
close. So give me like a example of this. Like, are we talking someone that buys like a single family property that you can get traditional financing on? They're going to put a little bit of renovation into it, improve some stuff. Or are we talking about something that's not lendable day one, and they're going to do this heavy reno and then
Both.
really?
Both. Yeah. There is one-time close for conventional loans,
Okay.
and then there is one-time close for VA. Not everybody does a VA. It's hyper complex. But yeah, you can use it for complete renovation. So you buy something that's hardly habitable or just really needs to be gutted, you can do that as well.
Does it need to be a single family, or this can be
No, it can
for
be 1 to 4 family.
1 to 4? Wow. And then you said no cap on loan amount
For VA. No
for
cap.
VA.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I always thought VAs had some sort of cap on them.
No.
No. So you can go up to the 10 million if you wanted to.
I don't know if you can. It's
Yeah.
based on eligibility.
Okay.
So there's a certain amount that you are eligible as the veteran. You still have to qualify for it. So I don't think you can get to 10 million. But
Are most of your clients people that are going to be living in these properties as primary residences, or are they investors?
For the one-time close, those are primary. There are other products that are commercial products for investors. In fact, we have a builder division where we'll do the acquisition, the land acquisition. We'll do the horizontal, which is all the the groundwork, bringing in the sewer and the electric and all that, and then the vertical. So building, whatever it is, the stick built or whatever up on top of that. We'll do that for investors that are doing one-offs, as well as small and mid-sized builders that are doing maybe attractive 300-500 homes. And then we'll tie in being able to provide them with the takeout financing too.
That's pretty nice. Are HELOCs right now a big thing?
They still are.
They still are, really?
Yeah, because look, there are so many people that got interest rates that were sub 3 or even just above 3, and they don't want to touch them. And so the best way to tap into all that equity that's still there, because equity is an all-time high, is to then get a HELOC. It's expensive. You're looking at prime plus 2 on average. You might be able to find a starting rate for less than that, but it's expensive. You can be 10%. But if
For
you're
a
not
HELOC right now? On a primary?
Yeah. What is
Dude, it's
prime
funny.
rate
So I
today?
had
8.5?
I've only had one HELOC ever in my life, and that was on a one-bedroom condo, actually in this building that we're recording this podcast. So for the listeners out there that are not familiar, our podcast studio and our office here at Summers Capital is located in a 130-year-old historic building that used to be used to manufacture goods and products and that sort of thing. And we're next to the railroad track. We're next to the water. So they would load up the trains, and they would also load up the boats. But now 130 years old later, they're building this new condo community around this building. And it's 2009 built. And the city of San Diego has this thing to where you cannot tear down a historic building. So they basically left this building up. And so now it's this historic building surrounded by a bunch of new condos. It looks kind of strange, but it's kind of cool. So you walk into our office and you still see all the original brick and all that sort of thing. But I was saying all this. I freaking digress. What was I saying? Where was I going with that?
About the construction financing and such. But I'll just say
the HELOC, real quick. Sorry. So my only ever HELOC was at a one-bedroom condo that I owned here from 2017 as a primary residence to 2022. I want to say I sold it, and that HELOC I had, I remember it was for like $140,000 of the equity that I had in there, and the freaking interest rate was I want to say it was 4.5% or something like that.
Yeah. Well, look, it also used to be you could get prime minus. So you'd have an interest rate of prime rate -1, or even as much as -2. That's just not around anymore.
Now it's 10%.
Yeah, now it's
crazy.
prime plus. Yeah.
But I guess if you're gonna, I think people might be like, oh, why would you borrow at 10%? Well, it's well, if you're borrowing at 10% to go make something that's gonna, return you 40%, then it makes sense. Even if it's going to return you 20%, you get the pocket on that delta.
Look, and honestly, if they're using the money right out of the gate and it's not really just using it as a revolving line,
yes,
most of the time it does pencil out.
Yes,
to just refinance it into another long-term loan. But most people don't see it that way. Even though they think they're going to get into it and use it as a revolving line, they wind up using it, paying off all their debt. There are other things, which makes a lot of sense. Credit cards are 20-25%. But then they wind up with a loan on their home equity line, and they could have just rolled that into a lower payment.
And then they use it to pay off the cards, and then they rack the cards up again.
Yeah.
Now you got a HELOC and maxed out cards. But like you said, where I think this pencils, and I don't think I would use a 10% HELOC to go invest into some long-term play that's going to yield you 14%. That doesn't really make sense in my opinion. But like what you said is if you're going to use that HELOC to go do a flip, that you're going to sell in 8 months, and then you're going to go make $200,000 on that flip, and then you pay back the HELOC where you only paid $10,000 in interest. Well, then that's a delta of 190. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, you're living that. I mean, you have investors that are invested in the fund. I'm one of those, and then you have investors that are giving you loans, and you're paying more than that. So you see the value of it because you know that you're going to be able to turn these properties, get some sort of a multiple back. So it absolutely makes sense. So it's the same thing. So we are doing HELOCs. We are also, one of the big things that we do that there are not that many lenders that do, and no banks do them, no credit unions do them. You can't walk to your local bank to get one, is a reverse mortgage. Are you familiar with them?
Tell me a little bit more about it. All I know about a reverse mortgage is I believe it's when someone's kind of typically on the back end of the years. And
That's
they're
a good way to put it.
Yeah. And so they're like, hey, you know what? I just want the cash flow. And so someone will kind of buy that mortgage and then and basically pay them on the equity of their property, correct? That's all I
Kind
know.
of.
Okay,
Kind of.
tell me
All
about
right.
it.
So a reverse mortgage is for seniors. You can be as young as 55 years old to qualify. 62 is a standard. There are what we call HECMs, which are FHA insured. That's kind of the main product. And then there's, other products or jumbo products. They're proprietary. They have different guidelines to them. But in general, what it is this. You can get a reverse mortgage and never have to make a mortgage payment. So as a senior, there's literally no way you could live any less expensively. You can't go rent an apartment. You can't go rent somewhere. You can't go rent you cannot live any less expensive than having no mortgage payments. You're still responsible for your insurance and you're still responsible for the taxes and for the upkeep.
So
You
just
can't
no
just let it
P&I.
go, but you've got no mortgage payment, right? And so think about, a senior that's got lots of equity. They've built up the equity over their life. Maybe they own it free and clear. Maybe they owe very little. Now you can pull a lump sum cash out, and it's all based on actuary tables, based on your age and the equity of the home, the value and what you owe. Those are the three
Do they
components.
consider your health? Like, hey, this guy's
Nope, no health.
okay.
No. And they can't disqualify you. So as long as you at the right age, 55 or older, 62 or older, and you've got the equity, you qualify. There is another component to it where you have to show at least enough income to pay the taxes and the insurance. The alternative is if you don't even have that, they can do what's a set aside for that with the equity. They call it a LISA. These are all acronyms, but it doesn't really matter. It's a set aside to help pay that for a certain period of time. And then you could also, instead of taking a full lump sum, you could set up part of it as an equity line. And that equity line grows at a large sum every year and continues to grow with the appreciation of the home. So you always have that you can tap into later. But you literally can have the property until you die.
Okay, so let's just do a simple example because I'm actually very curious now. What got me curious is what you said on the back end. You said you could set up an equity line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just say that for simple math, the home is worth $1 million.
500,000
and their debt is 500,000.
Well, the 500 would be the max loan amount, just for argument's sake. It's approximately that.
Okay. So
And let's say they owed 100,000.
okay. So they owe 100,000, and what's the value of the home?
The value $1 million.
Yep. And they owe
Okay.
100,000. So they have
And
900.
they owe
in equity.
100,000. They can get a loan amount of 500,000, maximum loan amount. And that 400,000 could either be taken out in a lump sum, or they can get an equity line of credit. And if they don't use the equity line, it grows every year. So it grows into a larger sum.
And the 500, that's going to go towards this reverse mortgage.
So that becomes the base note amount that gets recorded. But then it grows. The interest gets tacked onto it every year. So it eats into the equity. But based on appreciation, you've got that offsetting the interest that you're paying every month. So the value of the home goes up. The interest or the loan amount goes up based on the interest that gets tacked onto it. But it takes a long time to get yourself in a position where you might be upside down. And you can be upside down. You could owe more on the home. If there was another crash, and let's say that $1 million home is now worth 700,000, and your loan amount plus all the interest over the years winds up being 800,000, you'll never have to pay off that 800,000. So the heirs are not stuck with a debt. The home's satisfied. The insurance on that product pays the difference.
Yeah.
It's like gap insurance.
So, but now here's another option. I'll challenge you here. For this same 68-year-old retiree right here, they could also sell the $1 million home. We said there's a $100,000 debt, so it's $900,000 of equity. Flip that $900,000 into an investment that pays that 8% preferred return. That's $72,000 a year, or $6,000 a month, tax deferred because you're investing into some sort of real estate opportunity. And so that's another option too. And you could take that $6,000 a month to go rent an apartment, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it just
Cover
look.
yourself.
It could be a little riskier, right? You don't
Yeah.
know what that investment is going to
It
do.
is.
Alternatively, the first scenario, take that 400,000 and then go invest it, and use that to make
That's
your
true.
tax and your
So you
insurance
get the
payment,
best of
and
both
never have
worlds.
to move out of the house.
So you get the best of both
Yeah.
worlds. Yeah.
And be able to pay maybe long-term
Yeah.
care or whatever it is that you might need later.
Yeah.
So it's a big product, and we have a full division for that. It's called Reverse Loan
Wow.
Solutions.
That's pretty cool.
And we've got some of the top reps in the country that
I
are
could
with
see
us.
that being a huge product.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. And then with the baby boomer generation all the time.
10,000 a day turning of
10,000
age.
a day in America. 10,000 reverse mortgage is there getting done?
Candidates. Yep.
Candidates. Oh, they're applying 10,000 a
No,
day.
meaning that there's that many people turning the
Retiring.
age to qualify
Got
for
it.
these mortgages every day. And equity is at an all-time high. So that's a big product for us.
Damn, that's crazy. And, 38 trillion sits in retirement accounts in America today. I bet you a lot of these folks have retirement accounts too. That's interesting. Anyways, that said, man, so the HELOC's a big thing. The reverse mortgage thing is a big thing right now. I do have a question. It rolled out last November. It was the 5% down on up to a 4-unit property. I believe it was a Fannie Mae or a Freddie. I think it was a Freddie Mac product. It was like, it made a big splash. It was all over the news back in November. Are you guys doing a lot of those?
We're not seeing them.
You're not seeing them?
Yeah.
Really?
A lot of that
How
stuff
come?
makes the headline news, but it's not. I think it's just really tough there's no inventory. It's really tough to get these properties. I buy all the time. I'm a buyer in this market, even with rates where they're at, but it's really tough to find them. It's
Interesting.
tough to find them that are going to cash flow.
Yeah.
And at 5 down, it really doesn't. And so now you got to qualify for it. Even if you're going to do it owner occupied and you're renting out, let's say 3 units, you may not qualify for that. And so it is kind of a needle in the hay. It's a great, it's a great product to market, but we're not seeing it.
Yeah. Especially up there in LA, Orange County. I mean, some of those fourplexes. What does a fourplex sell for up in your neighborhood?
Oh man, if you can find one.
500 a door? 2 million?
Yeah, it's probably, it depends where it is. If it's in LA with rent control, it's going to be less, but you'll never be able to pay that.
You know what? I bought this is my second multifamily deal I ever did back in 2019. It's a 32-unit multifamily deal in Indianapolis. Guess what I bought that for?
Gosh, I couldn't even venture a guess.
Because you're talking
500,000.
You're talking fourplex in your neighborhood for $2 million.
Yeah.
We bought that 32-unit in Indianapolis for 1.2.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's
crazy,
crazy,
right?
Yeah.
I think it's like 37 a door.
What do you think it's worth today?
We sold it 24 months later for 3.1. Today,
Okay.
I don't know, dude. Actually, it's funny because when we sold that property, we had renovated exactly 50% of the units. And it was before the interest rates went up, but this like syndication group came up and they came in. They're a little bit newer and they're raising money from investors. And I felt like we kind of maximized the value of that property, and I felt like they kind of overpaid a little bit, in my opinion. And so, and then right after they closed, like less than a year later, the interest rates started going up. So I don't know how that turned out for them, but I know rent growth has kind of slowed down in that area. So I'm not sure, and I wish them nothing but the best. But I don't know how that thing's going for them or those investors. I'm not sure, but I know we got out at the right time with that one.
In the position you are today, do you think you would have sold it? Or just held on to it?
100% that property. And I'll tell you why. It's because, that property was older, 1960s construction. It was in an okay neighborhood. I didn't feel like no matter what you did to the exterior of that property, it was never going to look like a really nice property. And, I felt like we were lucky to get it. And that property had some plumbing issues too. I remember we had a lot of plumbing issues at that property. And we're like, you know what? We're lucky to get out of here. So it's funny because we were anticipating to sell that thing. So we bought it for 1.1. We were anticipating to sell it like 5 years later for something like in the like 2.4 range. And so we were looking to refi it, and we saw the property next door had just freaking went to market, and it was a bigger property. It was like 200 units. It was directly next door, but it was also older. And they got some crazy number. And so I ended up calling the broker, and he's like, dude, I can get you something similar. And he was like, stop renovating your units. He goes, people will pay more right now for unrenovated units than renovated units. And so we're like, okay, let's fucking stop renovating the units. And sure enough, he brings us like multiple offers in over the 3 million range. And I'm like, holy shit. So we went with one of them, and these guys put non-refundable EMD down. They're raising money from investors. I was like, I don't know what they're seeing, but I'm like, we'll take it. And sure enough, this thing got to the finish line and closed, and that was it. One of my old partners, his name's Mike. He went to like a real estate conference out in Denver like a few months later and got to meet the buyer, and they had like a nice dinner and that sort of thing, and said he's a nice guy, but that's all I know, man.
Man, that's a big win then.
Yeah.
Right
yeah.
on.
We'll take it. And that was my
Yeah.
first big win in the real estate space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is a big first win
Yeah.
for sure.
So, all those little, even the smaller deals, like you put it on your resume, it helps you get lending, especially in the commercial space. But yeah, who knows, man. But anyways, that said, fourplex in freaking your neighborhood, 2 million. I get it though, because, people say, oh, like you got to go in the Midwest, you got to buy a lot of units and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, you can do that and you can make money, but A lot of people make serious wealth out here in Southern California with some of the real estate out
It's
here,
very
man.
true. You got it. But in Southern California, especially in the rent control areas, you have to be willing to sit on it for a while because you're not getting people out. You're not getting people out of the property when they're paying $1,000 a month for rent, sometimes less than that. And market rents are 2,200 or 3,000. Like, great, yeah, if you can get them out. And now they're making it even harder to do that. I don't know if you heard the newest thing. Now, if you're renting a property and you personally want to move into the property, you have a reason to go and move into your rental, you have to give 90-day notice and pay a relocation fee and be in the property for 2 years after you move in,
If it's your own property.
if it's your own
Yeah,
property.
it's freaking crazy to think about, man. There's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape around the landlord tenant laws here in California, but at the same token, I just had Mikey Taylor on, and he's up in Thousand Oaks. I want to introduce you because I think you guys definitely should know each other. But that said, he's doing a lot of new construction apartment builds up in LA, and he's doing some here in San Diego, and he loves the barrier to entry. He loves that like all these landlord tenant laws are keeping a lot of these out of state investors out of here, and he uses that to his advantage. And so, and I kind of agree, like these barriers to entry, if you're local to the area and you understand it, you can use it to your advantage. One, it's hard to build, right? So if you can go in there and build these deals, there's not a big risk of oversupply like we see in Phoenix and Austin right now. But on the flip side, also having landlord tenant laws, it keeps all these other allocated investors out of the thing, and then it keeps rents going up because the supply is always going to be somewhat limited here, and there's always going to be a demand to live here in Southern California just because of the weather and the vibe. I mean, you know this. There's a reason you live in freaking Southern California, man.
I talk about it all the time. Yeah, I mean, there's reasons to move away, but there's a lot of reasons to stay. I mean, gosh, you don't beat the weather anywhere else.
I mean, shoot, I love Cincinnati and Indianapolis. I like going out there, but dude, I go out there for like 2 days to like visit some real estate, and I'm like, you go to freaking couple of the restaurants there, and I mean, it's really all there is to do is go out to a steakhouse and go to a diner, maybe catch like a freaking ball game, but that's it. And I'm like, I'm bored. I'm ready to come back out here,
With you. I'm with you on the way down here because it's about a 3-hour drive from where I'm at to come down here. We came down early, Devin and I, and so we spent some time. We went to Pacific Beach and Mission Beach, and I went to school down here, so I knew it. And he comes down here all the time. But man, it's alive, and it's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday. It's alive.
Yes.
So yeah, if you like that kind of vibe where you just want to be somewhere where it's like things are happening and there's things to do all the time, you just can't beat it.
You know what my favorite part of that drive is when you drive down from like LA, Orange County to San Diego is Camp Pendleton. Camp Pendleton the military owns like 20 miles of freaking beachfront real estate. And literally you don't see any civilization, you don't see any buildings or anything. And you're literally just driving down this road. You have the beach on one side and the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and then you got like the mountains on the other side of the freeway. But it's like, it's kind of cool. It's
It
just
is.
like,
That's where the agricultural checkpoint is going north.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of cool. It's just like raw. I'm like, is this what California looked like 500 years ago before there was civilization here?
it is.
It probably did,
Yeah.
right? You probably just saw some Indians or something,
Yeah.
some horses running around. Like, that's pretty cool, in my opinion. I don't know. I like that little stretch.
I do too. The most interesting part about the drive, though, is the transition from LA to OC. You drive
What do you
through
mean?
LA,
What do you mean?
it's dirty.
Mhm.
There's
Oh,
trash
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
There's homeless everywhere. The buildings are old. There's weeds on the streets in the medians.
Potholes.
It's like tumbleweeds rolling by.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, you get to this area on the freeway, and the pavement's black, and the paint is white, and there's green everywhere, and the buildings are all nice, and you're like, what the hell just happened? And you made the transition from LA to OC.
Yes.
And that's literally like, then you get off the freeway, and it's like green belts everywhere.
Yeah.
Man, and no trash, no homeless. Yeah, it's an interesting transition.
It is. And then especially you get down to South OC, like you hit Irvine and you go south, and it's like you got all the toll roads, and then you hit like Laguna and Dana Point, San Clemente. I don't know, man. It is a big difference between North OC and South OC. It is interesting to see, but yeah, I don't know. That's California is interesting, man. I like San Diego because you can travel from any corner of the county, like any pocket neighborhood to any pocket neighborhood. 20-25 minute drive. There's never like crazy traffic, and each neighborhood is so unique. North Park, South Park, Mission Beach, Mission Hills, Mission
Downtown.
Downtown. You got Gaslamp, Little
Yep.
Italy, East Village. You got OB, Ocean Beach. You got PB, La Jolla, Del Mar. And then you go up to North County. You got Carlsbad, Encinitas, Oceanside, San Marcos, Vista, Escondido, Rancho Bernardo, Poway. All these little areas are pretty cool in their own unique ways. Regardless, like, whatever your thing is, there's a neighborhood for you.
Yeah, that and honestly, having the airport right here.
You have an airport here, yeah.
You don't have to deal with LAX for many of those flights. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I want to start hosting a badass conference here once a year, like a entrepreneur, like a business and like real estate conference out here once a year, July of every year, and just bring out like all the freaking most badass speakers and just have it be like the premier conference of the country to be at, like right here in the middle of summer in San Diego, right on the water, and then have like all the best networking events afterwards. Like we're plugged into the industry scene here, so we could be at all the freaking coolest freaking venues and then have like yacht freaking networking events and like just make it dialed. I'd love to do that.
We have the convention center here too, and you don't have to take, and it's huge, but yeah, it makes sense and it's easy to get to. And I come down here for conventions and in real estate and mortgage. Yeah, it's great. You got Gaslamp and, easy place to stay, lots of restaurants.
San
You should
Diego's
do it. Put it together.
I
I'll
know.
go. I'll go.
There we go. I know. But it's a lot of work, and in live events are tough because you can take a big bath. Like I spoke at the last 2 live events that I've been to. A lot of those folks that hosted them, they lost some money.
Yeah, you do
And
for a long
so
time.
you gotta. I mean, the goal is to break even, really, and then you're gonna get the PR. You're gonna have the back end products and that sort of thing, which is where you kind of make your money. But the goal of these live events is really just break even. But if you fall short, you can lose $1 million.
I'm going to make an introduction to somebody for you who's been doing one coming on, I think, 8 years now, and they're finally at the point where they're making money, and there might be a way to
Collab. Yeah. Okay. So maybe July of 2025, we'll see. I'm throwing it out there. We'll see. But that said, man, speaking of real estate, you got a really unique niche coming out with Homepie. I know you guys are still in the early stages, but tell me a little bit about that and what exactly is Homepie?
Yeah. Okay. So, Homepie. So if you want to see what it's about, go to homepie.com. Basically, this was born out of my experience in the mortgage business being those years I was on the front lines. I was a top producer. I was closing 50, 60 loans a month. And there's a certain percentage of customers that you can just help that don't need an agent. The buyer and seller already know each other, and whatever that fashion is, right? And so I always thought, like, why isn't there just an easy way, a template for somebody to be able to sell their own home? You can sell your own car very easily. You can sell products. Like today, you can sell just about anything on your own.
Literally, with social media and
right?
internet, there's
I mean,
nothing you can't sell on your own.
It used to be like just eBay, or there was Craigslist, then there was eBay, right? And so now it's like Facebook Marketplace. If you want to sell something in your house, that's the easiest thing to
Devin's
do.
fucking selling TikTok lives to fucking people he doesn't even know, and they're fucking gifting them.
That's
Like literally,
true.
that
Literally.
is the definition of selling anything you want.
Things have evolved.
Freaking OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Girls are selling freaking, like, there's girls that make money on OnlyFans just showing their feet.
Yeah.
And guys are paying them to show their freaking toenails.
You
Like,
can
what
sell
the
anything.
Like literally, crazy, right?
But can you sell your own house online? And so that was the idea behind it. And so what I did is I took this idea of how easy it is to create a listing to sell your car on like Auto Trader. You go through a few steps. It asks you, what make, what model, and starts filling in information, then a description, then you post your own photos, you set the price, boom, it's online, and you wait for people to get a hold of you. But obviously a lot more complex with homes. And so I said, okay, how do we take something that's far more complex and make it easy? Well, what other software has done that? And I thought TurboTax, right? You can file very complicated tax returns just answering bite-sized questions, and the answers change the following questions. And so we took those two concepts and married them and made it easy for anybody to create a listing within minutes, upload your own photos, or you can get professional photos, all of that.
I'm going to pull it up right now on my phone as I'm listening.
It's super easy.
Okay.
Literally, you can create a listing in 5 minutes. You want to take longer, you can, but you can create one in 5 minutes, depending on how detailed you want to be. And then on the buy side, so this happened, conceptually, we started to come up with how to do this before COVID. So this is before we were such a mobile society now, people moving to, states that they'd never lived in before. And like, how do you figure out where you're going to move and that sort of thing? So we set it up so that you could go on and view homes just like you would on Zillow or, realtor.com or any of these other sites. You can like them, favorite them, share them, do all that function. But when you do find something you like, you communicate directly with the seller through the instant chat on the platform.
Speaking of instant chat, I'm actually messaging Tammy. I said, "Hi, Tammy. I'm actually recording a podcast with Brad right now."
All right, let's see how long it takes her to get back to you. Hey,
She already got back.
awesome.
She said, "How can I help you?" She's on it. She's on it. I like it.
Awesome. We are using some AI as well,
Yeah, I like
obviously,
it.
but yeah. So you when you find that property you like, you can communicate directly with the seller. You can schedule either an in-person or virtual viewing. So the way I imagined this, and it's funny because if I go back to my initial vision of this, instead of me doing like a vision board and writing it all out, I created a commercial. I did a commercial. I got to show it to you. It's freaking
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, I want to see it.
So this commercial was like imagining the future of real estate. And it's that whole thing like, hey, why isn't it easy to sell my own property? And imagine what the future looks like. And in the future, so at the end of this video, there's, you probably wouldn't remember these, but there were AT&T videos from a long time ago that we were like predicting the future. And most of them came true. The one that didn't, that was slightly off, was where they had video calls, but you made your video calls from a phone booth. Like, I got to show you, it's on YouTube, obviously, but like literally that was them predicting the future. Is eventually in the future, you can tuck your kids in, from a phone booth, and like you're talking here and the video camera's in front of you and you're
That's
saying
so
goodnight to your
funny.
daughter. Obviously they didn't predict the mobile phones, but
Yeah.
the idea is that I'm like, okay, well, why can't you do a virtual tour where you have, and at the end of this commercial, we have somebody in a VR headset turning a doorknob like they're walking through a door. So that was what we imagined. But on the site, the virtual tour, what we imagined is somebody just basically FaceTiming the person that's coming in, or through whatever method, Duo, whatever, and walking them through the house and say, over here, you got this bedroom, over here, you got this bedroom, and here's the pool, and show, oh, hey, can you move the camera to the left again? I want to see, oh yeah, that's a fire pit. That's what we imagined would happen from across the country. And so we built that into the platform as well. But then when you're ready to write an offer, that's what really stands out, our technology that we built. Most people are very nervous about writing and negotiating an offer, especially if I wanted to buy your house and we don't know each other. I take a look at it. It's a little awkward to begin with.
Yeah.
And now
People get uncomfortable talking
now we
about
start
money.
talking about price. And it's
Yeah.
like, most people are not comfortable with that.
No.
Like if you're a salesperson, you probably are, but most people, like, they don't want to do that. That's why we have a third-party intermediary.
Yeah, people get uncomfortable talking about money, even if it's at the dinner table with their own family. People get like weird. Oh, money, or like that. I don't know. It's a weird freaking topic that people just lock up. Oh, I don't know why that is, but it's
Most
the case
people
with
do.
most people.
So we built a tool that creates an offer virtually, and it goes through like that TurboTax thing and asks, how much do you want to offer? And they make suggestions, and there's things to read and all that. And what's your down payment? Do you want to get a loan? Do you want a contingency to make sure that you can get that loan before you close and give up your deposit and all these things? So it takes them through all the terms. They hit send. The seller gets a text, they get an email, say, hey, you got an offer on the property. They log in. They see all the terms. They can go down those terms, accept, counter, decline, accept, counter, decline, all the way through. That goes back and forth virtually. Now, you can imagine you've bought a lot of properties. You know what happens offline. You're waiting. You're seeing, did the guy get no, I didn't get the email. Send it again. Did you check junk? Like that's what happens in a traditional, and it takes weeks. This happens in minutes. And so they respond with their terms, and it goes back and forth until everybody agrees to all terms, automatically produces one clean agreement that they sign, and you're off to the races. That's our standout technology. And so that's what we power up Homepie with. And now, fast forward, 4 years, and now we've got all sorts of disruption happening in real estate with commission lawsuits and all that sort of thing. So we have some real momentum. And we were primarily in California and Florida, but we just opened up nationwide.
With real estate investing, asset protection and protecting yourself from personal liability is huge. The best way to address this is to correctly set up your LLCs and entity structure. For us at Summers Capital, we use Prime Corporate Services to set up, manage, and provide guidance for all of our entities, making it truly hands-off. If you want to learn more, visit Prime Corporate Services/Rich Summers to book a free call and receive a special podcast listener offer. Again, visit primecorporateservices.com/Rich Summers to book a free call. Now back to the show.
I love the business model. I think it's unique, it's smart, it's taking advantage of technology. That's never going to slow down. And then you got this whole buyer agent commission thing going on. What is the latest with that?
Gosh, August 17th
Mm-hmm.
is when they're supposed to implement these changes, which are, and this is what's crazy about this. And, as a thought leader in the mortgage business and talking to other thought leaders, we're all very confused by this. Today, you have transparency. When there's a commission offered by a listing agent to a buyer's agent, you know what that is. And it goes into the paperwork and it becomes part of the sale. And so when agents go on later to look at what the sale is, they can see what the commission paid was. And it's transparent. And so they know, like, okay, well, this $1 million property, they paid 5% or they paid 6% of commission on this. What's happening now is that they're requiring the listing agent to just contract with the seller for their commissions. That's it, with no guarantee that they're going to pay commissions for a buyer. And so the buyer has to contract now and sign an agreement that they're going to work with an agent that they'll pay their commissions directly.
And what was the backstory of this? Like what caused all this? I don't really know all the details. I know it's been in the news and I know the gist of it, but like for the listeners that haven't heard it, what stemmed all this?
Well, there was one class action lawsuit, and then it led to, Me Too's and lots of them, that basically stipulated this. It said, hey, I was a buyer, let's just bring it down to just one person. I was a buyer of this property, and the seller paid my agent's commission, and I had no say in what it is. And my agent earned 3% commission. But I know I did all the work. I found the property, and I brought my agent in just to create that offer. And that's really all he did. And he probably would have done this for 1%, but I wasn't able to negotiate that with him. And so because you were, Mr. Seller, calculating what you were paying for my agent commission, you wanted more for your property, which means I paid more for your property than I should have because I didn't get to negotiate with my buyer's agent. That's the premise of it. And so the attorney saw this as an opportunity, which smartly they did, right? Hey, there's an opportunity here.
And as they should be looking
Right.
for
And so
opportunities.
this wound up being a big class action lawsuit. There were multiples.
That's right.
It was against all these big brokerages. It was against NAR, National Association of Realtors. And ultimately, like any business deal, you look at it and you go, does it make sense to keep fighting this? Does it not? Should we save our money for fighting it and just, come to an agreement? And so they decided to settle. And we're talking tens of millions of dollars for each. The initial judgment, so they won in court. There was a full lawsuit. They won in court, and it was a judgment for treble damages. It wound up being something like $5 billion with the treble damages. And so that was the catalyst to start the settlements that everybody did. But now,
I wonder how much of these homeowners get compensated, each of them.
I don't know what that is going to end up being. You know that the attorneys get the majority of that because they get their expenses reimbursed.
Who's footing the $5 billion? These brokerages?
It was a law firm. Oh, for
yeah,
the settlements?
Yeah.
It's coming from the individual companies.
But I mean, so are a lot of these brokerages that if they don't have the liquidity, what do they just get? It's got to stop somewhere, right?
It hasn't caused any to go out of business. We were talking about, and I don't have the numbers with me. It's easily Googled.
So we're talking like Century 21, the Coldwell bankers, like those folks?
100 million, 140 million, 10 million, 20 billion, 20 million. Like, it just depends on the size and how much they were involved in this process in the states that these were being litigated. But it's a lot of money. And so it's now caused the DOJ to step in and set new rules and new guidelines. And it's still being fought, by the way. There's several that didn't agree to this, and so they're still fighting it. So we really don't know today exactly where this is going to end up. But
you said starting in August?
August 17th is when the rule is supposed to take place.
So this isn't even finalized and they're already setting new rules?
Yeah, it's finalized to a degree, but it hasn't been, the final stamp on it hasn't been done.
So then reiterate the new rules and it's dropping in August.
So as a buyer, you will sign a buyer's agent agreement with your agent that says, I agree to pay you X commissions. Then you can still negotiate for the seller to pay for those, just like today you can negotiate for closing costs to be paid for by the seller. Now you can say, I want you to pay my fees for my broker. So it'll be a negotiation item, but no longer will the MLSs post that the seller will pay X commissions for the buyer's agent. So you don't have that transparency anymore.
Okay. That's interesting, man.
Yeah. And so the question is, do buyers then say, well, gosh, I don't want to sign an agreement with my agent maybe I'll just go to the listing agent directly, take out the middleman, do it myself.
That's what I do.
And so explain, why
I
do you
only
do that?
work with listing agents.
Why?
Because two reasons. If it's a competitive deal and we're in a competitive climate like we were like in 2021, and let's just say this deal's got 25 offers, and most people work with the buyer's agent in the residential space. Commercial space, not so much, but residential space, yes. So let's just say there's 25 offers, and let's say 22 of those 25 offers have a buyer's agent, and I'm one of three without a buyer's agent. Guess which 3 offers they're going to be bringing to the freaking seller? Because that agent's going to be double ending it. They're going to be getting double commission. So they're going to be trying to wheel and deal with the seller to choose one of our offers. And then secondly, the listing agent, because they're going to double end it, they have the ability to be like, hey, I'll throw in an extra point. I'll come down. Let's make this work. Let's go with this buyer. So that's number one. You have the ability to be awarded deals in a competitive environment. But let's just say on the flip side, it's not competitive, like it isn't as competitive right now. And let's say this deal's, maybe you're the only freaking offer on the table and this thing's been sitting on the market for 2 months. Well, now if you go direct to listing agent, they're going to double end it. And so now they might go to the seller and say, hey, I'm willing to throw in my freaking half of my commission to get this done. We haven't had any offers. Let's freaking do it. And so now you have a better chance of getting a better deal, even in a non-competitive environment. And then lastly, actually, there's a third reason. I just like going direct to the source. So I think the more middlemen you can cut out of these transactions, the better. Like I cannot stand when there's like a buyer's agent and there's a listing agent, and then it's like the seller, and then it's like the freaking all these other people are getting involved. I cannot stand it. I'm like, I always tell the agents sometimes, I'm like, hey, can I just like put us on a call with the freaking seller or put me on the call with the buyer? Like, and I'll say that. And a lot of agents like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I'm like, no, just put them on the freaking call. Like, I just want to talk to the person. Let's just figure this out right now. I hate all the middlemen. So for those 3 reasons, I always go direct to the
Well,
listing
you'd love
agent.
Homepie then, because that puts you right with the seller. But so what you said is absolutely true, and a lot of people think that way. Now let's fast forward. To the time now. We're past August 17th, and there's no savings because you're just coming in and saying you don't have to pay any buyer agent commissions for me, where some other buyer may need their commissions paid because they're working with an agent.
Say that one more time.
So now here's your competition, right? So now you're going directly to a listing agent. You're saying, hey, I don't have an agent. You don't have to pay any commissions. They're not earning those commissions because they're not contracting. The listing agent is no longer contracting for double the commission, right? They're only contracting for what they're getting. So you're just coming in and saying, you don't have to pay any of my agent commissions. Now you're competing against people that may have an agent saying, I need you to pay for commissions. So does that even the playing field, or does it not? Or does it make it more difficult for maybe that first-time buyer that's more nervous about doing it on their own, that wants the help, and now you're more likely to get your offer accepted? But is that fair? Is it fair to the first-time buyer? So there's a lot of this controversy happening right now where it's like, how's this really going to end up? Is it going to be unfair to people that are first-time buyers putting low money down? They're going to ask for closing costs, and they're going to ask for buyer agent commissions. Are they going to be able to get into properties? Is it fair for these low-income people to do that? Like, that's the conversation that's happening.
I mean, I kind of see it playing out this way. Like if now that it's a known thing, these sellers are not going to want to pay a buyer's commission. So the only way these buyer agents are going to get paid is probably through the buyer, right? And if that's the case, I think these buyers are ultimately going to become educated. Hey, I can save 15 grand. I can save $22,000 by just going direct to listing agent. I think just going direct to listing agent is going to be the new norm with these first-time, second-time home buyers.
So now let's ask this question. The listing agent won't want to represent you. They're only going to be representing the seller because they're not going to get paid to represent you. And so their fiduciary duty is only to the seller. So you have so for somebody like you, you're experienced, but if somebody not experienced, maybe not so comfortable, right?
But I think there's going to be like third-party companies that come up, and maybe there already are, but it's like, hey, like you can freaking join this whatever, let's just call it maybe like I don't know, like a workshop. Hey, this little workshop, you do this like 2-hour workshop, and we will teach you exactly what to watch out for, what not to watch out for. You go direct to listing agent, save $22,000. And by the way, this course is only $200.
There might be that. Or what about this?
What about
buyer's agents become flat fee model? Pay me $1,000 or $1,500.
Yes.
If you already have a property in mind, we'll
then
handle all
it's
the
the same
paperwork.
thing,
We'll
yeah.
handle all the paperwork for you.
Yes.
So yeah, a lot of new models I think will emerge from this. But we'll see. I mean, it's not great. If you're a real estate agent and you have been, this has been your livelihood for a long time, and more agents represent buyers than they do sellers, it's a nervous time for them. I feel for them. It's tough. But like everything, there's change. And somewhere, somehow, people adapt, businesses adapt, and we figure it out.
Will commissions go up?
I don't think commissions will go up, but where I think people are postulating that prices will come down because there's a savings at commission, I don't think that's going to happen. If you're a seller and you're like, well, I only have to pay my 2.5% now or 3%, you're not going to say, well, lower my purchase price by 3%. What the heck? You're not going to do it. So I don't think that side of it's going to happen. But I don't know. I think that it's possible. So I think what you're asking is, let's say on average today, 2.5% for a listing agent. Do they now pitch 3% because it's a savings at 3? It's no longer 5 or 6. Maybe. And so maybe the listing agent gets paid more.
Yeah. But, I'm thinking on the commercial side, 95% of transactions get done with a listing agent, listing broker only. There's no representation on the buy side. That is completely normal. And a lot of these commercial deals are like, it's normal to do 2%, 3%. Anything above 3 is not normal. You're overpaying. And this doesn't necessarily mean it's a $10 million or a $20 million deal. This is like, when we sold that 32 unit building in Indianapolis, that group sold the 200 unit building next door, which was a brokerage deal, but they sold our 32 unit deal for 3.1 and they charged us a flat 2%. So I don't necessarily know that these commissions are going to go up. I don't think so. I think 3% might be like, hey, like they might push to get 3, but we'll do it for as low as 2. Like
I think that that's probably pretty accurate. Look, it's hard to compare commercial and residential. It's usually on a commercial side, you're a more sophisticated buyer.
At least I hope so. But you'd be surprised, man. Some of these sellers, man, these mom and pop sellers on the commercial side, they're not the brightest.
Well, you
tool.
see a lot of that because of the boutique hotels, right?
We see a lot of that in boutique hotels.
Yeah.
But even all these other sellers we bought the multifamily stuff from, like these are like mom and pop. This is the only business they've ever had in their lives, only piece of real estate they've ever owned. But those are the types of sellers that we target. We love that stuff.
Yeah, well, you're doing a good job.
Yeah. So you'd be surprised. I think sometimes some of these residential first-time home buyers might be more qualified than some of these mom and pop sellers who've owned their real estate for 20 years.
Yeah, that does happen for sure. I mean, there's all sorts of different personalities out there and levels of experience, and that plays into it. But yeah, with this specifically, with these changes that are taking place, it bodes well for Homepie, but it's a really nervous time for just about everybody else, including, honestly, the mortgage business. A lot of originators get their business from buyer's agents. And if the buyer's agents aren't going to be used so much anymore, how are they going to refer that business?
So I think the buyer agents are just going to have to adapt. But like all these new realtors, like the name of the game as an agent has always been get the freaking listings, because now you control the whole freaking transaction. But I mean, now I think they're just going to have to all go after listings, and that's it. And then these listing agents are going to, I don't know. But you said the buyer agents could do the flat fee for $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is. Even $2,500 is worth it for most buyers. And then they still refer the business.
And they can still ask the seller to pay for that.
People are still going to need loans. If anything, I think is going to tick up the transactions, because a lot of the supply or the inventory of available homes on the market should tick up, because the seller is going to get an extra 3% now, or 2.5 to 3% in sale proceeds.
Yeah,
potentially. And that could be the difference of them saying, hey, let me list this property. I mean, $1 million, that's $30,000 on $1 million listing in their pocket. That might give some people, hey, like, let's do it. Fuck it.
It could. Look, but look, you're involved in real estate and you don't know the nuances of this.
No, I don't.
And so for that information to get out there and be mainstream and people find out about it, it's going to take some time.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the breakdown, because like I heard of it and I never like really took the time to like educate myself on it, because I could care less, to be honest with you. But now I'm like, okay, that's actually is kind of an interesting thing. Yeah.
So that's been what's happening on that side of things, and really been since October of last year. We've seen a really big uptake in new listings on the site. That's what caused us to want to go nationwide. So we actually haven't even promoted nationwide yet. We just opened up the site to be able to take listings nationwide. So if you go there today, you might see a couple, from other states. But the next phase is start marketing for that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So speaking of freaking lenders, I can't stand lenders that are like not gamers. So this boat that we're closing, we're all set to freaking close. Today's a holiday, by the way, a federal holiday. So shout out. What is it, Juneteenth? Juneteenth.
Yeah.
So shout out to the new federal holiday, but the banks are closed. And that's it. So we're supposed to freaking take delivery on Friday. And this lender has everything that we need. They got the entity formation, they got everything done, and the boat's sitting there. Everyone wants to close on Friday. And we got an email this morning, and the lender, sure enough, said, "Hey, the lender has everything, but they're going to get the loan docs over to you by end of day Thursday. You sign on Friday, and then we'll close and fund this thing on Monday next week." And I said, "Well, I'm going to be in Denver next week for a real estate conference, and we've been pushing to close on Friday." So I'm like, "Dude, what the heck, dude? Freaking get the loan docs out here by 2 p.m. tomorrow. I'll sign. We'll overnight them before the cutoff, and let's freaking fund and close this thing on Friday." But he's just like not a gamer. He's like, "Oh, I don't know. That's pushing a little bit too fast." And so I don't know. I'm like,
Is this a
I got
private
this news
lender or
today.
is this a bank? Who's the
This
lender?
is a bank who's doing the loan, but when I say the lender, the guy that's not a gamer, he's like a mortgage broker that does boat loans.
Oh,
And so he
okay.
works with like probably 30
Multiple lenders,
multiple
sure.
boat lenders.
Yeah.
But the boat lender doing it is like a bank. And so he's just like brokering this. And, I'm like, dude, pick up the freaking person at the bank, get them on a call and say, "Look, we need to freaking get this thing pushed through. Otherwise the deal's not happening." Put some pressure on them. And if they can get the freaking loan docs over by end of day Thursday, they can get them out at 2 p.m. And then we could notarize the FedEx cutoff. I think it's like 5 p.m. overnight. We can overnight it. And then we can fund this thing on Friday and just be freaking done versus going to Denver the next week. And I personally, selfishly want to use the boat a little bit this weekend. So I'm like, let's
that's
go.
what it boils down
Yeah.
to. Because either way, it's going to happen. But
Yeah.
well, I saw your video you posted. It looks really amazing.
Yeah, dude. I'll have to have you
It's
out,
a great
man.
a great layout on it. Looks really roomy.
Thank you, man. I'm
Nice.
excited. It's the
Congrats.
first. Thank you. This is the first ever boat. I've always wanted a boat, and I was a little bit nervous going down to see it last night because I'm like, I'm committed to buying it. Like we're freaking in this process. Like I was committed to buying it, but I had only seen YouTube videos, and so it's like you don't know until you really get on there, And I was like, sometimes things are like feel a lot smaller when you actually see it in person, but it felt even bigger in person, and it showed even better in person than it did in video. And I was like, okay, this is
Did you
freaking
work
badass.
with a boat broker
I
to
did.
find it? Okay.
Dude, so I'll tell you the backstory, man. So actually this guy I know, shout out to Wayne, he's a boat dealer out here. And he was like, "Dude, hey, I'd love to have you on my boat. Maybe you can shoot a little content. I'll take you out in the water. You can bring like some friends." So I took a few of the team down there. Tommy went, Andrea, Alex. We all went out and ripped around on this boat, and it was a 37-foot escrow par, which is they're out of Denmark. Would you call it? Would it be Danish?
Yeah.
Would it be Danish? So it's a Danish boat manufacturer. And they do these new boats, but they're basically big center consoles. So there's a 37-footer, twin outboard, big like center console with a hard top, kind of enclosed, and it will rip. I mean, it's doing 60 knots here in San Diego Bay. It will rip. And so that got my wheels turning. He's like, "Yeah, you can like pick this up and blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Oh, this is pretty badass, right?" And so then I went out again with him, and I was like, "Okay, I like this." And then I was like, "Well, let me see what else I could get with the same price point."
What's
And then
the price point?
So that escrow par, you can get one for like about anywhere from 400 to like 680, depending on the model.
Sure.
And so I'm like, okay, like for that price point, what else could I get? So this other one I'm picking up is 490, brand new plus sales tax. So it's about 520 all in, 527 all in. And this one is a lot more it's a lot more bang for your buck. The escrow part was like a center console, 37 feet, had a little tiny like porta potty and like a little tiny like berth down there, and that was it. But this freaking Bavaria
It looked like it had a giant bathroom.
Yeah, this
You
Bavaria.
don't call it a bathroom; it's a head, or I guess you call it. But
This Bavaria is like the freaking same freaking price point. It's the same length, but it's like triple the square footage and livable space. So it's like Bavaria, first of all, is a German manufacturer, quality boat, really heavy. Like all the doors, the hinges, everything's really heavy. Displacement's like 3 times this other boat. And so the durability, the quality's there. And then secondly, it's got freaking dual Volvo Penta engines, diesel engines. It's got 2 staterooms. It's got a full head. It's got a shower. It's got a salon. It's literally got like all these sunbeds and freaking loungers, and it's got the joystick throttle control, so you can like literally move sideways, diagonal. It's got the bow thrusters. It's got literally everything. And I'm just like, dude, this is the same cost. I'm like, I would be dumb if I didn't buy this because I want to like entertain. I want to go to Catalina.
it totally makes sense for business. You're already doing that. You're doing your yacht meetups.
Yeah, I want to go to Catalina. I'm going to do over the weekend trips out there, bring people out there, entertain. With that escrow par, I would have to. If you go to Catalina, you get there quick, but like you're probably staying in a hotel room. Otherwise, it's kind of a camping trip. You know what I mean? But this is like this is comfortable and like,
Well, why do you have to get there quick? You want to enjoy the ride.
yeah. And this thing's still going to rip out to Catalina in like just over 2 hours. That's quick enough for
Enjoy
me, dude.
it.
The escrow
Now
part,
you're also going to wrap it, you said.
I'm going to wrap it in black and then do some lettering. We're going to name it Bag Secured.
Okay.
And then we already formed, the maritime attorney already formed the LLC. It's called Bag Secured LLC. It's funny because the lender's like old school and he's like, oh, no. He's like, let's slow down a bit. You know, the dealer is like, let's close. Like they're hosting this big boat show this weekend. Like, let's freaking get this boat out of the way. We want to close. And the lender's just not a gamer. He's like, hey, let's take a step back, guys. Let's make sure we got all our ducks in a line. And then he saw the freaking LLC name coming and he's like, are you sure this is the right LLC name? I'm like, yeah, that's it.
Let's hear about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it going to be right down here?
It's going to be right
Near
down
your
here.
office? Right
Yeah.
on.
So the dealer has a slip for me at the dealer office at Harbor Island, which is right next to the airport. And then once I have title, then I can apply to get on the wait list here at Marriott Marquis. And they said there's like a big line to get in there, but they said if you schmooze them a little bit and if you have a brand new boat, they like to have brand new boats at the marina versus the older ones. Schmooze them a little bit, maybe throw them a little cash tip. They'll move to the front of the line pretty quick. So I'm like,
Right
we'll
on.
see.
That's fun.
We'll see what happens. But I'm
Yeah.
excited, man.
I bet.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it might close Monday, though.
Yeah, I know. So I'm like, shoot. So we'll see. But I'm like, I was told the dealer today, I'm like, no, we're gonna push for everything to get this thing done because I've done like real estate deals where we're like scrambling last minute. I'm like, there's no way we're gonna get this done, but we're pushing all these buttons and there's a million moving parts, and we still get those done like just in the nick of time. So I'm like, this is simple. Like everything's done. Like all we have to do is here's the thing: the bank is closed today.
Yeah.
So they can't
Yeah.
do the loan docs today, and so I get that.
They could have been drawn yesterday.
But first thing tomorrow, if I'm banging on them, like they have everything, like they can freaking, if we talk to the right person, they can get those things drafted in an hour over to us by 2 p.m. Come on.
They're located nearby.
I don't
all
even
they
know
have
where
to
they're
do-
located.
All they have to do is
His-
send them an
his
email,
name's-
and you
his
print them
name's
out with your
Jim.
notary, and
Let's
and
go,
you can
Big
sign
Jim.
it.
We're talking about you on the podcast right now, my man.
Okay.
Let's go. Giddy up.
So have you ever piloted a boat before?
I used to be actually used to teach junior sailors how to race back when I was in high school. So I used to be like a junior sailing instructor.
With those like little 2-seat sailboats.
One person sailboats, little sabbats. They're like 8 feet.
So you're gonna draw from that experience to pilot this thing around.
That's funny. So I've been kind of sailing like most of my life. I'm a member of Harbor Sailboats. The last 5 years I've been down there. They have 38 feet and under, and so they let me take out their 38 and under sailboats on my own. I'll bring friends out, and it's a sailboat, but you can still do some damage with those things. You're still using power when you come
And
in.
you know
and
all
come
the
out of slips.
rules, and you know
I know the
what to
rules
do
a
and-
little bit, and I know all that stuff. However, I've never driven a 37-foot or 36-foot twin diesel. Overall length is like 40 feet. Thing weighs like, I think it weighs like 15,000 pounds. I mean, this is a big thing. It could definitely do some damage. And so I was down there last night checking it out after dinner. I went back after dinner. And I was like, turn all the lights on and like all the gadgets. I'm like, this thing's pretty freaking badass. But I was like thinking about it. I'm like, you could do some freaking damage pulling out of the slips and out of with this thing, even with the joystick.
You're gonna have
Like,
somebody with you a few times.
the
and
dealer
kinda-
guy is going to take me out a couple times and show me all the bells and whistles. And I'm like, I'm actually stoked that we're going to keep it in front of the dealer for a while. Cause I'm like, I'm going to have questions and I can just grab them real quick. But hey, show me how to use this.
Yeah, you're gonna want that
Yeah, we don't want that.
for
I don't want
sure.
to be using YouTube.
Yeah, especially while you're out there.
No, exactly.
Right on. Well,
So,
congrats,
and it's-
brother.
thank you.
That's awesome.
It's probably a good thing that I'm like not drinking right now. So it's like, it's good. So I go out there, I'm sober. Like I can, be focused on controlling the boat and making sure everyone's safe.
Good idea.
Yeah. But boat loans are tough, man. It's not like real estate loans, because they freaking just give me like freaking $6-7 million real estate loans to buy these hotels. They're just like, oh, here you go. Like those are easy for me to get. But then like freaking getting a boat loan, it's like they want to freaking check your spinal fluid. They want to check your freaking blood type. They want to know all this stuff because these boats can like disappear. They can sink. They can disappear to Mexico. And they want to make sure they have some sort of collateral. You see
Interesting.
what I'm saying?
So you have to cross collateralize
The real
it?
estate's not going anywhere.
So are they cross collateralizing
No,
it?
they
with
didn't,
other?
they didn't
Okay.
cross anything. They didn't cross anything. It actually was a pretty quick approval, but like this is what like the people in the industry are telling me, like, dude, it's not easy to get freaking approved. The dealer said the last buyer of this boat fell out because they couldn't get the approval. But it actually wasn't that. They didn't really ask me for much. But
What are the interest rates like?
we did a 20-year AM at 7.5%. I'm putting a pretty good chunk down. So of the 527 out the door, I'm putting about half down. But the thing is, dude, is like 20-year AM and 7.5. Like, I know people doing real estate loans right now. They're like in the 8s. So it's actually
They're
not that
coming down
bad.
a little bit now.
Yeah.
We're approaching 7 again.
What are you guys doing like a primary residence loan for?
Yeah, it's approaching 7 again now for a 30-year fixed.
Okay, so it's like 7 point something?
It's come down. We're
Oh, so
close to 7.
7.5 is
We're
great
close. Yeah, we're
for a boat.
yeah. It sounds great. I thought
Yeah.
you were going to say much higher than that.
Don't you have a lake boat?
I do. We have, yeah, it's a wake surf boat.
What do you have?
Yeah, we have a Supra 450 SA
Okay.
or SA 450. I guess.
What is that?
It's a 23-foot wake surf boat.
Okay.
It's.
What's
I
how do
went
you spell
back.
it?
Supra was the first boat I bought in 1991, but it wasn't a wake surf boat, of course.
It's a Supra what?
Supra SA 450.
SA 450 boat. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 23 we have.
2023?
Yeah,
Oh, this is clean, dude.
yeah.
It's sexy. Okay, so what's the price point of this when you bought it?
It was 150-ish,
Okay.
somewhere around there.
And so this is more just like almost closer to a car loan. Like you just go in there and they're like, boom. Or you probably
yeah,
just pay cash.
signature.
Yeah.
Yeah, credit signature done. No,
Nice and clean. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no income docs, nothing like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's clean, dude. Wow. Sexy. The engine is a jet engine? Or is it a
No,
prop?
no, it's prop.
Okay.
Yeah,
How fast does the thing go if you don't have like wake and all that?
46, 47, something
Yeah,
like that.
but you're always towing usually?
MPH. Oh yeah, these are you. So the wake surf boat. Have you wake surfed?
Never wake surfed.
Okay, so
Tell me how it works.
the older you get, the more you like wake surfing over everything else because it's easy on the body. But
because you're not getting yanked by a rope.
and you also look. It went from water skiing, like it was water skiing. I grew up water skiing. Go to Lake Powell every year with my folks. Houseboats, all that sort of thing. Grew up on boats. Then got my own boat. Then going out and it's still doing water skiing, basically slalom. Then wakeboarding came around. So wakeboarding, you're in boots
Yeah.
still, sideways, just kind of like snowboarding. But you catch an edge on. You're going a little faster. You catch an edge on a wakeboard, and you can do a very serious face plant.
Hmm.
You can knock yourself out.
And it
Like,
feels like
it
hitting
hurts.
concrete.
Oh God, it hurts. It hurts. So once they started doing this wake surfing, so the boat goes very slow, figure somewhere between 10.5 to 12 miles an hour. And the way that the boat is designed, and you weigh it down with a ton of weight, and you fill these ballasts, so it fills with water inside to give it weight. And the way it's designed is it kicks up a wave. And either on the left side or the right side, if you're going, if you're goofy or you're regular, and it kicks up a wave just like you're surfing. And so you're going slow. You're on boards they look like surfboards, but they look like short miniature surfboards. And so falling doesn't hurt because you're only going like 10, 12. It's like falling into butter.
Yeah. Is it easier to ride when you're wake surfing versus wakeboarding?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Especially if you've surfed before.
How do you get up? Do you start in the water or you just start on the transom of the boat and just jump in?
That's an advanced maneuver. So you could start on the transom if you're a little bit, if you know what you're doing, but you really start in the water. If the beginners put their heels up on the board and kind of as the boat goes, they press down on the heels and then come up onto the water, right? And then the more advanced you are in getting started out there, you can put the board under your feet under the water and just pop up when you go. There's a lot of different ways you can start with it, but the beginners would just kind of lay back in the water, put their heels on the board, push down, and as the boat comes, the water pushes against the board, and then you
that's
get up there.
wakeboarding or wake
that's
surfing?
wake surfing.
Wake surfing. Uh-huh.
Yeah, wakeboarding, you're wearing boots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll start with the rope wake surfing, and then you let go of the rope.
Once you know what you're doing, you can let go of the rope. Once you're in the pocket. Yeah.
Okay, once you're in the pocket.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun.
There's the pocket's a fighting term too.
I
Trading
don't
in the
know
pocket.
that one.
You know?
No.
So like like UFC fighters, for example, a lot of them, some of them are like kind of like be outside, and then some being in the pocket is like you're trading distance to where you can punch each other. That's in the pocket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, quite different. when
Yeah,
you're
put you in the pocket. There's a rap song about that too. Put
Okay.
you in the pocket. I forget who sings that. I'm gonna have to pull that up. But dude, I'm gonna have to try it sometime.
Come out. We're on a
Where
private
do you
lake.
guys go? Lake Elsinore or where?
No. I've got a house on a private lake.
Your house on a private lake?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Big Brad, bro. Let's go, man. I
I
got to come hang out with you, man.
I've had that
What
for
am
a
I
long
doing down
time.
here in downtown San Diego, bro?
So this is these private ski lakes. They're all over the country, but they're man-made. So imagine a strip of water. They're varying in sizes, but we have one of the larger ones that's maybe a quarter of a mile long and maybe 300 feet wide, 350. Ours is, like I said, a little bigger than most. And at the ends, there's an island. And so the idea behind this, these were originally built for slalom skiing, is that you've got your slalom course with the buoys and all that, and you ski the slalom, you head down. With slalom, you want the flattest water you can possibly have. So the boats are designed to kind of float on the water and kick off a very minor wake. But when you get down to the end of the lake and you go around the island and you start heading back, it's flat again. The water's flat all the time. And so that's the way they're designed. Now, ours is unique in that it's a deeper lake. It's a little wider than most.
How deep are we talking?
We have two. They're separated by an airstrip. We have a private airstrip
What?
between the middle of them.
Dude, what the heck?
But
Brad,
yeah,
we got to hang out, bro.
one of them's about 12 feet deep.
I'm going to fly up there in a freaking small airplane. I'm gonna have someone
I
fly
can
me in.
register. You can do that. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
register you.
I got some friends that have small airplanes. Okay.
So one of them's about 7.5 feet deep, and the other one's about 12.
Okay.
But both are okay. We can surf on both of them. It's just the way it
So-
was dug out.
So how many houses are in this community?
There's 20 lots, 10 on each lake, but not all the homes are built on. All the lots are built on yet.
And so can you own an airplane and have a hangar in your backyard and then taxi out into
It's
the
an
airstrip?
active runway. The
Wow,
streets here
it's
is
surrounded
an
by
active
water.
runway.
It's surrounded by water.
Yeah. So
What's the name of it? Do you mind if I look it up?
I'm not going to say it
Okay,
on
okay,
air.
okay. All right.
Afterward, I'll share it
Okay,
with you.
okay.
It's a little private.
All right. We'll keep it on the DL,
Yeah.
Brad. But dude, that's freaking amazing. So then you can literally wakeboard around this airstrip.
It's the airstrip's in the middle of the two lakes, so you're going up and down one lake, and that's how you go on one side at a time. They are connected at the end if you want to go on the other lake, but you don't do that while you're skiing.
Dude, that's freaking badass. How long has this community been open?
I bought my lot in 1999.
Oh shit! So it's been
and
around
I
for a little
built
bit.
the house and finished that in 2002.
Okay.
Yeah, so kids grew up out there.
Yeah, freaking Big Devin, man.
Yeah,
Let's
he's-
go, baby.
he's good.
Just getting warmed up over there.
He's way better than I am.
Yeah, you were a troublemaker.
Well, that too, but he's better than I am at wake surfing
Okay.
and the other sports.
And you're married,
31 years next week.
dude. Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
What's your wife's name?
Laura.
Laura. Shout out to Laura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Laura. Yeah, we're gonna
We gotta meet Laura. Maybe when you come down for our holiday party, you bring Laura.
she'll be with me for sure.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, she loves it down
We're
here.
gonna throw a banger holiday party. We're talking with Ja Rule to come in and perform, and we're gonna give away a Mercedes Benz.
I'll take it.
So bring Laura down, and maybe she'll watch you win a Mercedes Benz. But no, it's gonna be sick, man. So we're excited for it. We're gonna throw like a
I
banger
think
of a
Devin wants to
holiday
know
party.
if he can come.
Devin's invited. All the listeners, you guys are invited. It's gonna be big. I think the capacity is like 2,000 people. So we're gonna blow this.
right on.
We're gonna throw a banger.
Fun. All right.
It should be fun.
I'll plan on spending a few days down here at least.
Yeah, definitely. So excited for that. We're close to locking it all in. We're working with the Broadway Pier, which is right down here where the cruise ship terminals come in. But there's this big pier that's like a peninsula right on the water, and they have a big like indoor-outdoor space. So just trying to lock that thing in. They got to raise their prices though, because they're like, well, booked up every single weekend the rest of the year. I'm like, man, you guys got to raise your prices. So we're trying to figure out where we can kind of fit in and what that looks like.
You think it's
So
going to have to be a weekday then?
might have to be a Friday night,
Friday night's
which
fine.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah. whatever.
So yeah, we're in the talks with them, and we'll see what that looks like. Hoping I can do it there. If not, we're gonna have to go somewhere else. This office we did the last 2 years, but I'm like, this is way too small now.
If you're talking about 2,000 people,
No, and we're not pulling a Mercedes Benz in this office. There's no way. We might have little
you
model
don't have
car
a big
RC
enough
car.
elevator.
No, absolutely. We could get Ja Rule in here, but I'll have to definitely bring him on the podcast before he comes
For
out.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in Fastlane Drive with Clem and all them, and my friend Sean Coughlin, who's like the guy to know in San Diego. He throws all the VIP parties out here, like all the guest list only type of parties. But whenever Fastlane wants to throw like a really cool party, they'll bring Sean in to kind of do it. Sean's in the club too, but Sean brought in Twista, I was at a Fastlane event, so we did a drive. One of the members, shout out to Andrew White, he owns like a freaking like $16 million place out in Encinitas. And so we hosted the event there. It was like a Fastlane party. They had red carpet, everything. And it was like a casino night, kind of casino theme. And freaking next thing you know, Twister comes into the house and performs. You know the rapper Twister?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
so it was badass. It was cool. But Sean set that all up.
Is
So
he a party planner, or he just kind of does
he's
that on the
he's the
side?
VIP guy to know in San Diego.
Wow,
So he's connected to all
interesting.
the big DJs, all the big artists. And so if you want like a musician to come out and do like a freaking pop up at one of your events, you hit up Sean and he's connected.
Wait, so he's the one that's getting Ja Rule for you, or
Yeah.
did you know?
Yeah, he's the one that's talking to Ja
Okay.
Rule. Yeah. So shout out
That's
to
so
Sean Coughlin.
interesting.
Sean Coughlin has a guest list only, so that's his like event planning thing. So he'll throw like really, really cool exclusive parties like down here in San Diego, typically every couple months. And then he'll also do like holiday stuff, like holiday theme. He'll do like Halloween, like all the big ones. And he'll like find these like private venues, private spaces, and he'll bring in like the A to Z. He'll bring in like midget dancers. He'll have like freaking go-go girls. He'll have freaking like all the entertainment. He'll have all the best like hottest bartenders in town coming in. He'll have VIP like booths, so you can go in there, buy tables. He'll have the best DJs come in and spin. And these are invite only parties. And he'll be like, the girl to guy ratio is always like 4-to-1. And he'll like check all the girls' Instagram handles before they're able to like get on the guest list. Like it's like really dialed, dude.
Interesting.
It's a hell of a. And then the operations, like there's security, there's like door people, like everything is completely like dialed to A to Z, taken care of. But he's the guy.
No wonder everybody's moving down to San Diego.
Yeah. So, anyways, good guy to know. But dude, appreciate you coming on the show, man. Excited to see where Homepie goes. Excited to see where all of this goes. Where can the folks get in touch with you, my man?
My handles are all at the Brad Rice. Just across the board there.
Yeah, and the new podcast.
Yeah. So you warned me you were going to ask me about this.
I'm gonna come on and be a guest, man.
Yeah, for sure.
We're gonna get Mikey Taylor on.
So you told me I had to decide because I was vacillating between a couple names by the end of the show.
We got the Rice Report, we got the Brad Rice Show, and we got Rice Baby. Which one is it? Drum roll.
Oh man. All right, I guess this is it. If I have to announce it,
Yeah,
then it's
let's
gonna be
go.
out
Let's
there,
go.
right? We're gonna go with the Rice Report.
Oh, I love it. I think that's the best. It's got a little ring to it. It's original. There it is. Check out Brad, the Rice Report. I'm gonna be a guest on the show in Homepie. What is it? You said homepie.com?
Yeah, just homepie.com, and my mortgage company is Amerifund Home Loans. We're located in Simi Valley, and so yeah, you Google me, you'll find me.
At that Brad Rice. Go check him out. He's Brad Rice. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.